beyond indiscriminate killing. This seems targeted and intentional. Does this change the calculus for NATO and the U.S., perhaps, when it comes to resisting a no-fly zone or other direct military involvement?
I don't think it does yet, and this is something that's the red line. We've talked about the issue of the no-fly zone and the prevention of these kind of things. This is the Russian way of war. They will continue to do this. And what we don't know in terms of this targeting of a hospital, of a university, all in Mariupol, is was it an aircraft that dropped 1,000-pound bomb, because that's what the crater looks like to me, or could it have been an Iskander missile or a Caliber cruise missile or any other kind of artillery piece? It looks like something above a 1,000-pound bomb. The problem is this is part of the Russian way of war, and it is purposeful in terms of not only terrorizing the civilian population, but it also requires manpower to solve these issues. It creates chaos, but it also takes transportation, and it causes the people to say, we've got to get out of here. So as they're talking about moving out of the area, increasing the refugee flow, we're right now at about 2+ million refugees. That could easily spike to 3, 4, 5 million by this weekend. When you have that many people running away from a battle site, it requires transportation, medical aid, military police or policemen to sort the convoy. All those things take away from the military force countering the Russian advances. So this is planned, it's deliberate, it's to cause terror, but it's also to take manpower away from the insurgency or the uprising by the Ukrainians.
But it's clearly not fighting fairly. I mean, this is so inhumane. Phil, are you surprised Russian fighters?
It's more than not fighting fairly, Anna. It is a war crime. You're specifically targeting civilians, civilian buildings, civilian areas where there's no military advantage to this. That is a unique definition of a war crime.
So let me ask you, Phil, about the psychology here, because are you surprised that Russian fighters are willing to do this? Are they just, following orders from Putin blindly?
I think there's two characteristics of that. One is what you do when you're in a closed circle on the ground. That is, you're sitting among your partners saying, we were ordered to do this, as you're talking about. These people are enemies of us. We're taught that they're enemies. When you get in a closed circle, whether it's the people I faced, Al-Qaeda, or whether it's the Russians, you start to get into a psychology that says what we're doing is right and nobody can penetrate that psychology. Add the second piece on top of that, the leadership that you trust and respect is telling you that this is right. I'm not saying that every 18 or 19-year-old hasn't thought through the moral dimensions of this. I'm saying that when you look at the psychology of a person like that, it is not hard to understand how somebody who does not get outside information has been taught to understand by their peers and by their leadership, what you're doing is okay, you must proceed. This is horrific, but the psychology is not hard to understand, Anna.
Guys, stay with me because Vice President Kamala Harris, just a second, General, I want to come back to you, but I want to get in some other news too and reporting because we know the Vice President is on her way to Poland right now. And the stakes for this trip are even higher, of course, after the U.S. was caught off guard by Poland's offer to transfer MiG-29 fighter jets, those Soviet-era fighter jets, to a U.S. airbase in Germany for the United States to then be the ones responsible for delivering it to Ukraine.